Welcome to the Straight from the Heart show. I'm Yutam Almaraz. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today I've got a phenomenal guest. I'm actually really excited to introduce this guest of mine. She comes all the way from Australia. She has helped me unofficially as a coach. We talk sometimes on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, but we've always been in touch for the last, I'll say, 4 or 5 months. And she's a phenomenal lady. Her name is Claudia Soul. And she's a speaker, entrepreneur, and she's a personal expert, personal development expert. And she is also one of the best coaches I've ever met in my life on leadership development and performance coaching. She's so amazing. Claudia Soul, welcome to the UK.
Thank you, Utam. It's really good to be here. I feel honoured that you've asked me for this, and it's great because, yes, we have had that connection now for some time, which has been wonderful. So I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I couldn't think of anyone better, because without you realising, those conversations that I'm having with you at 4 o'clock in the morning UK time, that has really helped me. One of the things that you've really helped me with is regarding tagging. That was an amazing help that you gave me, and that's actually serving me now in my branding. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Utam. My absolute pleasure, definitely. So as we know, in this field and speaking and coaching, connecting with people, talking with people, and then actually collaborating with people is really how you create success in your life. So it's what I do, it's what you do, and it's what everyone that wants to move ahead needs to do. So
excellent. And for our viewers who doesn't know Claudia, she's got over 20 years experience. She's actually a degree holder. She's so accredited in the field that she's in. She's so knowledgeable. So would you be able to tell us more a bit about your background? Because I've just given them the bullet points on you. Can you just tell us a bit about what you do?
Absolutely, Utam. It's kind of a long story. That's the thing about as you get older, the story gets longer and longer. But look, I actually started my career in sales, and I often forget to mention that my very, very early days was spent in sales, and it's a big part of me because I grew up with a mother who was very business orientated and very sales orientated. But I'd had a fairly challenging childhood, so at some point it came up for me that I really wanted to go and train in social work or psychology or something along those lines. And I think it was a yearning in me to discover more around self-development and to grow as a person. So I went off and did a bachelor degree in counselling and human change. And there was psychology in that, there was organisational change in that, performance in that. It was a very extensive 3-year degree that I did. And I ended up starting in an area that I never ever thought that I would, which was addictions, and worked in that for about 5 years. But I also started my own practice, so I was working with issues of relationships, depression, stress, anxiety, eating disorders, everything you could imagine would come my way. Even people, struggling to live another day, essentially, in that practice. I also worked in a criminal justice system for a little while, and then I transitioned into working with trauma, working with children and foster carers. And I actually started my entrepreneurial journey when I decided to set up my own consultancy in around 2005 in Queensland. And I was consulting into organisations around a number of things, supervising staff and speaking, consulting around policies and procedures, a whole array of different things. And from there, I got the business bug. And in 2010, I decided to found an e-commerce company. 2012, I had my first product, and that business is called Hair Nation. And I often forget to talk about Hair Nation because I have 46,000 followers on Facebook on Hair Nation. I have 500,000 views on YouTube for Hair Nation, and a great deal of followers in the USA. And I'm in talks at the moment with China, placing my products on a big e-commerce platform over there. So despite coming from a personal development background, I actually am an entrepreneur. I'm also involved in a multi-level marketing company called Clarity, which is very successful in the United States. And I'm one of the first people to have that here in Australia. So very slowly building that here, getting ready for them to put an infrastructure here on the ground, Utam. So,
wow, can you see why I invited such a phenomenal guest? Look how busy she's involved in everything. And the thing that I love about you, Claudia, is you're so modest as well. Just like your YouTube channel, just like your Hair Nation, and you're very gracious. You're a gracious person, but you work with the top end of the market. So I would say you're on the top, with the top 1%. That's how I rate you. So
that's absolutely what I do. I've also got a few celebrities that I'm coaching. So it's sort of that CEO top end market and also celebrities. I've got a wonderful actor here in Australia, Aussie actor. He's been in about 17 feature films. So I really worked with him a bit to help him move forward to actually, he wants to crack into the American market. And actually he's had a guest starring role on Neighbours, which I know is a very popular show in the UK. So yeah, he's been a guest on that show. So I get some incredibly interesting people that come my way. And I think one of the reasons I chose this sort of leadership and performance area finally to settle into after a few changes is because it really showcases personal development. It really is about people growing themselves and overcoming obstacles and limitations, often limitations that they can't see for themselves. And I'm like that, you know, the fly on the wall almost, going, no, I can see what's happening here, and I push them forward. So I also work a little bit with startups too. I've just finished working with two ladies setting up a consultancy here in Australia and got them ready to launch their business. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
wow. So the work that you do is when you're up there, there's different levels of coaching. You've got the lower end, the mid end, and the high end. You're on the high end. And when you're CEO and you're on that type of scale in your life, it can get very lonely. It can get really, really lonely when you're on top. But what kind of issues do you deal with, or what kind of obstacles do you get from your clients, and what kind of tools do you give clients to help with that kind of issue?
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually, Utam. Fantastic question. I think there are two key things with people that really are already successful and high achievers. And one of them is that they've put so much energy and invested so much in to being successful that they've often got to the end of the road. You know, they've got everything they want, but it almost becomes a little bit like they're lacking because they just want the next goal. They're just looking for something else. And they often end up feeling a little bit unfulfilled in their life, that there's not enough for them. And that's a very common thing with that top CEO or person at the top. And I think the second thing is that often their success is very lopsided. So they'll be incredibly successful business-wise, but there'll be a lot of issues around them in other areas. For instance, their relationship, or their children have stopped speaking to them because they haven't spent enough time with their children. And they find themselves in a situation again that the success is there, the money is there, but their life is not necessarily where they want it. Wow. So yeah, so that they're often the issues that come up, which can of course then impact them as a leader. And in terms of performance, I think often what I'm getting with people are going, I want to get to that next level, or I want to get to Hollywood if they're a celebrity type person, is that there's something else in their life that they're struggling with that's holding them back. So it's working through that so they haven't got those barriers.
And like you said, there's an emptiness in their life where the children probably doesn't want to speak to them. Probably their partners are thinking of separating, and a lot of people will turn to addiction of any type. It doesn't have to be a substance, it could be anything. And with your background from addiction, you'll make the perfect coach, and I think that's why you're so successful in what you do. And guys, Claudia's so successful. I want you guys to look her up in the UK. She does her Skype call. She will do everything can be done electronically nowadays. Make sure you check out Claudia. She's really helped me in the short time that we've known each other, and that's unofficially. And imagine if you were one of her clients, she was just going to get you results after results. So being on the top end, being the CEO, the top of the market, you've made all the money that you have, that you can. You've hit the ceiling, you're getting all your targets, you're hitting everything. But when there's something lacking in there, how do you go about finding what's lacking in that certain individual's life? If something's in there?
Yeah, I guess for me, Tom, that's where my skill set comes in and my background comes in really handy, because there are a couple of tools that you can use, and one is to actually get people to rate different areas of their life. But because of my background and having counselled and spent so much time with people with a variety of issues, I can sit with someone and engage them in a conversation. It's what I do, it's what I'm trained to do. And as they begin to tell their story, I know which questions to ask. I can see the body language, I can see the hesitation. And I gradually work with them around their story to uncover what it is, what's that script, that unconscious script that's running through their head that's creating an issue. What's the thing that they're not telling me? And that's a great example. Often I'll sit with people and it's almost like they avoid telling you some things, and they're the things you start talking about, because often when people avoid talking about something in their life, you've asked them a question and they change the subject, and they do that 2 or 3 times. It pretty much gives you the answer that that's where you need to actually go with them, because a lot of the time we don't want to face the truth. We don't actually want to, what I call, stand in our truth and really face what's going on in our lives. And it's a big problem for people. And no matter who it is and who you coach, when you challenge them around what you hear them say, often that's when the truth will start to come out. So you've got to be prepared. If you work with someone like me, you've got to be prepared to be challenged. You've got to be prepared to have feedback. I did a final session with 2 ladies last night in a program I did. They were setting up a consultancy, and one of them was struggling a bit. And I said to her, "What is it that's stopping you from committing to this decision?" And she kind of looked at me, and she changed the subject. She said, "Oh, but," and we went through that 2 or 3 times, and I just kept saying to her, "What's stopping you from committing?" And it wasn't until I asked her the 5th or 6th time that she kind of sat back in her chair and went, "Okay." And then she started to talk about what the real issue was and what she was struggling with. So, yeah. So you've got to be prepared to be challenged if you want to be successful.
Be prepared to be challenged if you want to be successful. Write it down, people. I told you you'd be getting some golden nuggets. And working with that level of clientele, there's already a lot of egos there, high egos, and people that are really successful already. And also I'm not being sexist, but being a female in that cutthroat industry, how do you deal with that?
Do you know, Utam, you are the first person that's asked me that question, and I love it because I've often wondered, I've done quite a few interviews now, and I've often wondered why no one has asked me that question, and yet it's probably personally one of the biggest challenges for me, and something, if I was to say I had a little chip on my shoulder and really being transparent here, which is what I ask of people as leaders, to be transparent, I would say it sometimes bothers me because there'll often be a comment on my looks. And I've got to get past that really quickly. I've got to get past that. So a very common thing that I say to people now is, yeah, look, you know, I've been told that I'm a bit of okay, but wait till you start talking to me because I'm really smart. And that's often what I'll say to people to try and move past that. But in saying that, I do think it's harder as a female. I really do at times, and I might get challenged around this, but it is sometimes a little bit of a struggle for me, that one. So, but what can you do? This is who I am. And the bottom line is I do have the experience, I do have the qualifications, and I can go in and produce the results. And so I've started to see it as a bonus in my life that I have, great presentation and the ability to actually work at that level. So,
and for the people who's here in Europe, America, you have to realize that in Australia, the way a female is perceived and the way a female was perceived in Europe is completely different. The way the male ego is in Australia is completely different. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, wow. I don't think I should comment on that. Look, I think, yeah, that's a really difficult question. Every Australian male might actually eat me for breakfast if I was to say anything about that. But look, I think, universally, as a female, sometimes we've got to overcome things. But I probably try not to buy into it. But what I would say to you, Utam, for me that's a challenge is sometimes I do live videos and things like that, is I do get inappropriate messages and things like this. And I find that very difficult. But I've learned over time now to actually just ignore them. If I start reading it and I think, okay, this is another inappropriate message, I just let it go. I leave it. If it's incredibly inappropriate, I just block that person. I remove that energy away from me. So, but I think with CEOs and celebrity type people and those type of clients, they expect you to be well presented. They're looking for that. So it's an advantage, I think, in that area.
Excellent. And you've got the class for it. Look at the way you look. You're amazing. You're elegant. Not just the brains. You've got the looks to go with it. You're doing some phenomenal work. And if I'm not mistaken, you'll be talking over in the US. You've been invited to speak in the US in November, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit more?
Absolutely, Utam. And just before I say that, I'd go straight back at you with that comment in terms of the phenomenal work you do. And, it's straight from the heart. I think Utam is definitely straight from the heart. And I can see why you're going to go places with this because you're actually a really great interviewer. I have to say that to you straight up. You ask fantastic questions. But San Francisco, yes, Eric Swanson, they know him as Mr. Awesome over there in the States. And he has universal seminars and what's called the Habitude Warrior Conference. It's been going for some years now, and he has some phenomenal speakers, people like Sharon Lecter, who co-authored Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Roy Smooth from the United Kingdom, who we all know as an amazing branding expert, Bill Wash, Laurel Langemeier, who's a leading authority on wealth. There is just an endless amount of amazing speakers. So I'm really honoured to have been asked to join that group of speakers on the main stage in San Francisco, which is an honour, and that's November 10, 11 and 12. So only 2 weeks away, in fact, I'll be speaking live in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must be looking forward to that.
I am looking forward to it. I've been asked also to go to Dallas, Texas in, I think it's April or May of 2000 and I forget which year we're in. That'll be 2017. Oh my goodness. So yes, so it's really exciting. I love America. I love the energy of the people in the United States. So I'm really looking forward to being around that energy when I go over there as well, and sharing, my sort of gift in the area of personal development. So it'll be great.
You have so much experience in that, in the personal development, that the world has to have what you have to give. Believe me, and I want you to come to the UK and start doing some stuff here as well, because no offense, there are loads of women here, but we need somebody, I would say somebody like you here, because if you come here, I know you're going to be right up here. No disrespect, because there's a lot of younger and newer people coming and they're doing some phenomenal work, but I haven't actually seen somebody on your level, and I think you're going to do brilliant. If you come here, you'll be doing brilliantly.
I definitely have a UK trip planned, and so many people have asked me to go there. There's a few big conferences and things happening next year, so I've definitely got that on my radar. I want to come and I want to add as much value as I possibly can. And I think, Utam, it's one of the reasons I struggled a little bit with settling into a niche, because when you work in personal development for so long and then you become an entrepreneur, it's almost like you've got too much to choose from. And so it took me a little while, I have to admit, to settle into being able to call myself an expert in personal development and that I want to work at that leadership level. But I'm really happy at where I've landed now. I've revamped my website, which launches tomorrow. And I really do have UK on my sights in terms of coming, and I have the world in my sights. I'm telling you, I have the world in my sights in terms of being one of the next top female speakers and influencers in the personal development and leadership arena. That's my aim.
I have no doubt in you achieving that, because for you to have found where you are, your niche now, it wasn't accidental, Claudia, because with everything that you've done, your businesses, your entrepreneurship, your counseling, your coaching, you've done every single thing. And with that combined, that's why you're the leader, the phenomenal leader that you are today. And I've got so much respect for you. As you probably know, we've been talking for a long time, me and you now, and it's so nice having you on my corner. And thank you so much for being a good friend, being an unofficial coach, always pointing me out in the right direction. Can you tell my viewers where they can access you, your social media, your websites?
Absolutely. Well, as I said, my new site, which is www.claudiasoul.com, so it's just my name.com, will officially launch in, I'll say 24 hours, because we're in different time zones. So it's being launched in 24 hours. Like all websites, it's going to be tweaked a little bit here and there, but it will officially launch. So they can contact me through that if they want to. They can find me on Facebook as Claudia Soul. My personal profile is actually in my previous married name, Claudia Orbort. If they want to connect with me there, they can connect with me there as well. And I'm also on Instagram as Claudia Soul and Twitter, so I'm on all the social media profiles. But probably through my website would be the best place. I'm not sure when do you air this interview, Utam?
This interview will be aired in 2 weeks' time, just a week, just before your event. That's the whole purpose of doing this podcast, especially with my US audience. So before you even go there, they'll have a little perception of who you are as well. So
Fantastic. I love that. So let's just say, find me at www.claudiasoul.com and contact me through there. You can also, there's a link there straight to my number as well for people that want to contact me. And I do offer people discovery calls, and they often get tremendous value through just chatting for 30 minutes. I feel it's really important to do that, Utam, because it is really the number one way to discover whether or not somebody is going to be able to bring value to you as a leader and as a, you know, if you're wanting to perform at a higher level. So contact me, talk to me, and let's see what we can do.
Perfect. And she's not scary. She's such a lovely person. She's always listening. She'll always be there for you. Give her a try. She's phenomenal at what she does. And she's just reminded me of something. My shows are never scripted. That's why I'm straight from the heart. It's just, we just flow. And there was something that I wanted to mention and I completely forgot. You've actually given me an experience that many people can't have said in their life. I'm talking to Claudia today in the UK is Tuesday. I'm actually speaking to you on Wednesday. It's Wednesday in Australia, isn't it?
I know. It's actually Wednesday morning here, Utam. And honestly, it really, sometimes the time zone thing, because I deal so much, a little bit with the UK, but a lot with the USA. And I did a radio interview just yesterday, actually, with the USA, a gentleman called Ronald Cooming out of Massachusetts in Boston. And I realized when I converted the time, he said, oh, we'll be doing it at 11:30 a.m. Boston time. And when I converted it, I thought, oh my goodness, that's 2 a.m. the next morning in Sydney. So I had to I went to sleep for 3 hours, set my alarm and got up and did a 2 a.m. radio interview, which fortunately they couldn't see me, they could only hear me.
Wow. Well, it's amazing though. It shows you with technology what we've managed to do, what we've managed to create together today. And thank you so much for being part of my show. Thank you for giving us value. And thank you for all your knowledge. You've been absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank you, Utam. It's, as I said, it's my absolute pleasure. And what I would just say to everybody is just be prepared to find what the blind spots and the barriers and the limitations. We all have them, and often we can't see them. There's that little blind spot that we have. And when you discover that and it comes into your awareness, it's amazing the change that can happen in your life. So become aware of them and you will move forward at a much, much more rapid rate. So I'll leave you with that.
Thank you. Remember, look for the blind spots and you will move forward quicker. Thank you so much. I'm Utam Marias. I'm going to sign up from straight from the heart. But as always, I'm going to end it. Live well with one another, because if we don't, what's the point? Thank you so much. See you next week.